So Elon had been flirting with the idea of converting part of his balance sheet in Tesla into Bitcoin ever since the CEO of MicroStrategy slid it into one of his tweets. Then he talked about Bitcoin in Clubhouse before adding hashtag Bitcoin into his Twitter profile. Next minute, I was barely awake reading a Seeking Alpha post before one of the Patreon members sent me this article on Tesla buying 1.5 billion in Bitcoin and may accept cryptocurrency as a form of payment for Teslas in the future. Like any normal human, I checked the Bitcoin price right after that announcement just to see the impact on the Bitcoin price, and that thing went up by close to 20% in a span of 24 hours. Now, I just want to be honest with you. A lot of my thinking and my research is very much influenced by Galileo from Hyperchange, ARK Invest, and also Pomp. So shout out to them, and no, this video is not financial advice or recommendation for you to do anything. It's just general information for entertainment purposes. So without further ado, let's go. Now, in Tesla's most recent 10K report, they essentially said that they have acquired 1.5 billion in Bitcoin and may accept Bitcoin as a form of payment for its cars in the future. And maybe in the future, instead of quoting Tesla Model 3s in dollars, it will just be 1.5 Bitcoins. From a Tesla investor point of view, there are two spectrum of views on this move. Some people think, is this really necessary after Tesla has had a great run in 2020? Is it ultimately worth it to take the risk of fluctuating earnings? As a matter of fact, the CNBC reporters have shared their view along that line of thinking.
I would also ask here is how his investors feel about this. Bitcoin has been a big performer, but it's also been an incredibly volatile holding. If you've been watching this, it's back at almost $40,000 now, but it can drop thousands of dollars in a day. And Ron Barron has been a longtime investor in Tesla, and I'd wonder what he thinks about this too. Is he okay with them having $1.5 billion?
Why do it? I mean, he could not possibly have had a better 12 months, Elon Musk. He could not possibly have dreamt to be in the position he's in today, where his company does not have any chance of going bankrupt, any chance of running out of cash. It's worth, gosh, I forget the number, 800 billion. He's worth 200 billion. Why on earth do this? Why take the risk?
The CNBC reporter's comments doesn't exactly surprise me, since I think most of the comments over the last few years has really been part of the late majority segment of the innovation adoption curve. That is, they'll get on the train when most people have tried it. At the same time, a prominent influencer in the Tesla bull space, Gary Black, have actually disclosed that ever since the unclear FY21 delivery guidance and also the odds of a first quarter miss, not to mention the risky capital allocation policy, which is the purchasing of $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, he has exited his Tesla position. Seeing him exit the Tesla position will trigger some investors to think a little bit more critically towards a Bitcoin allocation and whether they should stay on the train. The other school of thought, especially coming from a Tesla investor, is that Elon is taking a risk on betting where the future of payments will be and putting some cash in a place where they can preserve their purchasing power. The idea here is to facilitate people to be able to buy Teslas using Bitcoins in the future, and in order to do that, you're going to need some liquidity in-house to facilitate those payments. And if it can preserve or even grow Tesla's purchasing power, even better. Now, if you think about the institutional Tesla bulls, Kathy from ARK Invest and also Chamar from Social Capital, they're all pro-Bitcoin. So surely over the years, Elon would have heard many different conversations around Bitcoin. And 2020 might just be the year for him to seriously think about converting some of Tesla's balance sheet into Bitcoin. Personally speaking, I didn't invest in Tesla because they were going to buy Bitcoins, but I invested in them for engineering leadership, autonomous driving, and the future of EVs. Like Ron Barron, I'm personally not surprised that they went down this path, but also I want to understand the reasoning behind it. And it's also really worthwhile mentioning that Bitcoin has a carbon footprint comparable to New Zealand, producing 36.95 megatons of carbon dioxide annually. So yeah, while the idea of investing for me is owning a great company and then letting them go do their thing, I just want to know what have they taken into account and the rationale behind going down this Bitcoin path. Okay, so let me shift gears a little bit and look at things from a Bitcoin investor's perspective. When Tesla converted some of their balance sheet into Bitcoins, I can almost hear the Bitcoin bulls screaming and yelling in joy. Because this is essentially a mega cap company endorsing Bitcoin as an investment vehicle, not to mention a payment system. This is what Mohammed, the chief economic advisor of Allianz, has to say about that.
I have to get your reaction first of all on this headline of the day. Two factors for it. One, does it continue to build momentum in Bitcoin and Tesla, I guess, or does it potentially mark the top? And should a company be doing this if it is indeed speculation and as an investment as opposed to preparing for transactional purposes?
Thank you. The first question is easier. Yes, it will continue to build momentum. What did Tesla tell you? Two things. One is that this will be a form of payment, and two is that this is an investment vehicle. So those are two powerful endorsements for the notion, I want to stress the notion, that Bitcoins are a currency, are money. Because after all, money is a store of value, money is a form of payments. So yes, that will build further momentum. As to the reaction, it's going to be all over the place. Some will see it as visionary. Others will say, wait a minute, if I want to invest in Bitcoins, I'll do it directly. I don't need Tesla to do it for me. And by the way, shouldn't Tesla be in cash management? Bitcoins are way too volatile for cash management. So you're going to see a whole range of reactions. But for Bitcoin holders, today is good news for them.
So the next looming question for most of us is that Bitcoin is at an all-time high. What is the likelihood of Bitcoin experiencing a 2018 type crash? I actually made a full video on that, so make sure you check out that video after this one, and the link is in the description box below. Now that MicroStrategy, Square, PayPal, and Tesla have joined the Bitcoin club, this is going to prompt other mega cap companies to seriously think about whether Bitcoin is worthwhile as an investment class to preserve their purchasing power. And the question is, who might be the next mega cap company to make that move? And I think the most interesting idea came from a Zero Hedge article. Their thesis is that instead of Apple chasing after electric vehicles, why not leverage their 1.5 billion installed user base to build an Apple Wallet type experience, then unveil a Coinbase-like Apple Exchange to facilitate and allow Bitcoin transactions later. And if Apple just converted 4 days worth of cash flow into Bitcoin, it would literally flood the Apple Exchange. As it stands, the Coinbase IPO is looking like it's going to be valued at more than $50 billion. So with Apple's 1.5 billion installed user base, there's a high likelihood that they can generate more market cap and eat away a big part of market share. Another way to look at this is that Coinbase have raised over $500 million worth of venture capital to get to this point. So say the Apple Wallet and Apple Exchange cost $500 million to build, plus the 1 billion purchase of Bitcoin and transaction fees. If you can generate more than 50 billion worth of market cap, that certainly seems like a low risk, high reward type project for Apple. Of course, this is just people dreaming, and maybe Apple's appetite is just so much bigger than that, and I'm not thinking big enough. But what do you think? Who do you think is the next mega cap company to really consider Bitcoin as a way to preserve the purchasing power of their cash? So thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. If you want to support the channel, not to mention access to additional content pieces and be part of my fortnightly Q&A, consider supporting the channel via Patreon. Nevertheless, if you have learned something new, remember to gently smack the like button right there, subscribe to my channel so that when I release future videos, you be the first one to know. Until next time, my name is David. Otto will always do the honors, and see you very, very soon.